Hi, my name is Mallory Gamad, and I'm a designer at Octane. I've lived in Southern California for almost my entire life, and except for a few years in LA, most of that time has been spent in Orange County. Orange County is a great place to live. Just the beach and how close we are to the mountains is a huge draw. Plus, there's a little bit less traffic than in LA. But something that's missing is the vibrancy that you find in larger cities, a creative pulse where you feel like people are making things, even though I know for a fact that that is happening here. The individuals on this next panel are community leaders, and like me, they live here, work here, and are committed to Orange County becoming the creative center that it can be, through a focus on art, food, entertainment, and a holistic approach to well-being. This creative movement, the Orange Movement, would put young people at the forefront, with a particular emphasis on inclusion. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Octane's CEO, Bill Carpoo, to continue the conversation.
Thanks, Mallory. And what I'd like to start with today is what we're doing today. This is not a normal moderated panel. This is going to be a discussion by a group of individuals that I admire significantly and have really been passionate about what we're trying to build here. So I'd like to start by just going down the line here and introduce yourself, Marinella.
Sure, thanks, Bill. I'm Marinella Gombasev. I'm the CEO of Evoke Neuroscience. We're a data diagnostics company, a medtech company. And my background, I started off as an engineer and ultimately came to run Evoke, and I'm just very, very passionate about the community of Orange County that I joined at the age of 14 when my family immigrated from Bosnia as refugees. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Reza.
Thanks, Bill. My name is Reza Jangiri. I'm the CEO of a company called AAG. I founded about 15 years ago, and we're focused on helping seniors retire better by using their home equity in a responsible way. And we're headquartered in Orange County with about 1,400 employees here.
Hi, I'm Kyle Comaruz. I am a resident of Costa Mesa. I've lived here basically all my life. Grew up in Dana Point, and I'm co-founder of a company called Cloud Verga. We're a fintech platform that basically automates the whole home loan finance process for homeowners across the country. And passion has been Orange County, and super excited to be on this panel.
Hi, I'm David Modazetti. I'm the CEO of Evolus. We're a biotech company that recently went public in the last 24 months, and we operate in the medical aesthetic space. I have 20 years experience in healthcare, and I'm a native of Orange County. Grew up here. I have 3 children that are in the school system here, and very excited about the Orange Movement.
So I want to start by really thanking all 4 of these individuals for taking my phone call back in October when we met for the first time. I think it was for breakfast at the Fashion Island Hotel. And really the intent was to start talking about how we could activate the next generation of leaders, be it CEOs, but then this quickly pivoted to how can we really activate Gen Z, millennials, and really make an impact and a difference in Orange County. So Marinella, maybe you start us off with, if we go back to that breakfast that morning, the first time we were together, what were your impressions and where have we gotten from there?
Yeah. Well, I remember walking into that breakfast not really knowing what to expect, not having a whole lot of information, but just knowing that, if you pulled the group together, there'd be some good people at the table. And what came to be really clear very quickly is the ties we all had to the community and the vested interest we had in expanding the ability of Orange County to be vibrant and really having a long-term focus in that. So it was, there was a lot of, I think, anticipation, but I think it felt in that moment, I think we all felt, it was a special moment that we would all be at the genesis of something very unique. And it was all grounded in our ties to Orange County. So I'd love to ask all of our co-founders too, what each of our ties are to Orange County. And just for myself, as I mentioned earlier, I came into Orange County as a refugee, a war refugee. No ties to the community whatsoever. I didn't even speak English, and I've had the great opportunity and privilege to build a life here, build a career, and I want to see this place thrive for many years to come. And as a fun fact, I've actually lived in 11 cities in Orange County, having come up through as a refugee and moving from different place to different place. So I've seen a lot of it, and I'm excited to contribute to something as lofty of a goal as we have with the Orange Movement. So Reza, what about you? What is your ties?
So I have nothing but ties to Orange County. Parents immigrated from Iran to the United States in '78, so I've been here my entire life, since I was 3 months old. Elementary school, high school, went to UC Irvine. I think you're a UC Irvine grad as well too, for undergrad. Commuted to Los Angeles for law school. Have 3 boys here, like David, 2, 5, and 7. All my friends, my family, my community is rooted in Orange County. So it holds a huge place in my heart. But all throughout my 20s and 30s, which we're going to get to in a second, I wanted to leave Orange County. More to come on that in a minute. Move over to Kyle.
Yeah, so me, I was actually born in Atlanta, moved out here when I was 1 year old, and resided actually in Irvine for a small stint, and then really kind of resonated in Dana Point. Surfer, bodyboarder, kind of got into that whole culture, being down over by the beach. And just have had a passion for Orange County, right? I went to school, kind of like Reza, up in LA, and definitely saw the dichotomy, the differences between Orange County and LA. And but it's for all the reasons why we're all here in Orange County. It's a beautiful place to live, but there's some key pieces missing. And for me, being on the technology side of innovation. It's been somewhat of a struggle, not only to find talent for the business side of it, but also to find an ecosystem and a tribe of people. And so some of those things have been kind of lacking. And again, I've been here for now 39 years, and it's an amazing place. I'll never leave here, but there's some certain things that, as we evolve, we're seeing that want to change.
Yeah. Well, I think you all see that there's a common thread here, right? I think we all really love Orange County. I have deep roots here. My family moved to Southern California when I was in middle school. Went through the public school system and private school in Southern California, met my wife here, and we now have 3 children that are in the school system here as well. And I've managed to keep my career in Orange County, but have traveled quite a bit. Prior to COVID, I traveled more than 50% of the time and spent time in major cities, and I've watched other cities really make progress in terms of bringing culture into their environment. And it attracts that younger generation. And when we all met, as Marinella said, there was an instant bond because we all felt the same void because we understand the environment, this culture, but we wanted to take it to the next level. I'm really excited to tell you about it today.
There was really like almost instant passion. I'm not sure any of us really knew where we were going to end up with this and what it was going to look like. And we still have work to do on that. But I think there was instant passion about how can we make Orange County better. And what exactly does that mean? So maybe why now? Why is this a good time to do this?
So I think framing this of what we're doing here and why, Bill, we're focused on where is Orange County going to be 20, 30 years from now. And we all are in alignment that there is something missing here to make sure there's a thriving Orange County for when our kids are hitting their 20s and 30s and in working age. And I think the thing that we identified was there's a soulfulness in certain dimensions, and words that come to mind: inclusiveness, risk-taking, arts, the counterculture, things that really help cultivate an innovation economy here, making sure that grads from UC Irvine, from Chapman, when the STEM grads graduate, they're not our biggest export, that they stay here and want to stay here, and they identify with the other Gen Zers and millennials, with the environment, and there's the social aspect, multi-dimensional aspect here, and we want to help bring that fabric and thread to Orange County that we feel is missing. Mm-hmm. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for all of you who want to think about Orange County and this is your home, I think Reza nailed it. This is about how do we take this environment and make it more relevant for that younger generation. I think about selfishly, how do I ensure that my 3 kids want to be here? Not just because I'm here, but because the environment helps them flourish. And there is a void. There's a void as we think about the culture of Orange County. I think those who look at it from the outside in see a lot of uniformity by the way we do things and maybe a bit stale. And that energy is what we want to bring here. And for those of you that are involved in different groups in Orange County, we don't view ourselves as one that's going to infringe on the different groups that exist, because there's a really strong foundation in Orange County that's helped build this. This is an incredible place. But we view ourselves as catalysts in many ways of enabling this culture to drive a lot more talent back into the cycle, which helps us regardless of the industry you're in or whatever group that you're a part of. If you want to see Orange County continue to thrive, this is what we're trying to do. And there's still a lot left to do, as Bill pointed out. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, right? Beyond just the business side and innovation and entrepreneurship and all those things, I think those are obviously staples, right? There's also the fun side of Orange County, right? When you talk to a lot of millennials and Gen Z, they're like, where do you go? Where's my hub, right? It's not Irvine Spectrum, with all due respect, right? You're not going to go there, right? Everything closes at 10 o'clock in Orange County. What do I do, right? I have to have a car in Orange County. Like, why are some of these? Why do we have to have this now, right? I mean, a little fun fact for me: I don't have a car. Like, I'm trying to try this movement. It's like, why do I need a car? Can I get around not having a car? Just as a side, I don't know how long it's going to last, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, like, what are these other things that are going to keep these amazing young, I would call them Jedis in a sense, that are super smart, super ambitious, that want to do more than just make money and raise a family, but they want to have a purpose beyond themselves, which is really what the catalyst of the Gen Z culture is. What else can you do to surround them beyond just providing great jobs, but also being able to provide an ecosystem, entertainment, right? The musics, the arts, this counterculture, as Reza was mentioning, right? And what does that look like, and where is it going to be? And so there's multiple facets to this that we're going to evolve, right? But just like any company, right, it's going to be an iterative process. And the key to us is, right, we all have run successful companies, and the key is we're going to learn. And this isn't about just us talking about what we're going to do. This is about listening to what the culture and what the people really want. So,
and I think one really interesting thing, before Marinella, you go on this, is when we all talked, like we said, we all grew up here. I wanted to leave in my 20s and 30s.
yeah.
I always said, I want to leave Orange County, I want to move to New York City. And I used my business because it was growing and I had, kind of anchored me here as a reason not to leave.
Yeah.
I do not want my kids feeling the same way. But what was it? There was not risk-taking when it came to restaurants. There was not risk-taking in terms of the arts. There was a lot of homogenous thinking. It's just a place where you don't cultivate that type of environment where people that are recent college undergrads or high school grads want to stay, raise venture capital money, want to socialize, want to build friends. So we see a lot of our most talented people leaving. We're seeing, I know, Bill, you're doing a lot in the venture capital community, but we've seen AUM, assets under management, go the wrong direction from a venture standpoint. We have some really hot pockets like health science and med tech and whatnot. We want to broaden that out.
Yeah, and if I could just comment on that for a second,
Yeah, sure.
and then to you, but that continues to be a problem for us, and it's probably going to be a theme throughout the conference, is the fact that we only contribute about 3% of the capital that's required for Orange County-based companies actually comes from Southern California. So that is, that's a problem to solve for too. And so this is a bit generational in terms of some of the aspirations that we have. And I think one of you mentioned this is a long-term play. This is a legacy. This is not about how Orange County looks next year in 2021, but how does it look 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now?
Yeah.
Very true.
And to get there, one of the things that we're spending a lot of time thinking about is what matters to Gen Z, what matters to millennials. And these things include things like inclusion. And I know, speaking as an immigrant and as a woman, we want to create an environment as part of our movement that creates a social fabric that is extremely inclusive by definition. And we feel that given our backgrounds and things that we've built in Orange County, we can kind of be the bridge to both sides. Whether you've established yourself as a leader in the community and you run large business here, you can be that influencer that's part of this movement. Or if you're a Gen Zer and you're looking for something exciting to be a part of, we want to recruit you into our movement as well. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about what it is that we want to do and build and who we want to be part of this.
Great point.
Maybe I'll jump in just for the group to get a better appreciation for what effort we put in thus far, because we certainly have a long way to go. What's fascinating to me growing up in Orange County, when we started to go through this exercise of defining what the Orange movement is understanding the history of Orange County. And we do have a rich culture. And when you look at the surf culture, and we dug deep into there, it really is a movement that's been created that's affected, I think, global trends in many ways, right? So that's one group. Then within music, we talked about a number of major bands that started out in Orange County that have their roots here, and many of them are names that are household names, and those were fascinating to me to talk about. And then, of course, tech has become a bigger part of Orange County, and part of that's just driven by the educational infrastructure that surrounds Orange County. When you think about the West Coast of the U.S., this is really a hub for education. Some of the top schools in the country are based here in Southern California, which puts out a lot of talented graduates. And as Reza pointed out, a lot of them are leaving, and that's because there's not funding, and the companies and the culture the lack of culture here is part of the reason why folks leave. And so as we step through this, we try to be thoughtful about the fact that many leaders in Orange County are involved in different groups. So how do we become an enabler and try to create something that helps enable these different groups to even be more successful without duplicating efforts? And that's always been one of the things that's a pet peeve for me, or creating another group that maybe you're already a part of and now this is a newer version of it. I think we all know that things have to evolve, and this younger generation does want to look at things a little differently, and we believe that lens that we can bring to the culture itself is exactly what could help refresh effectively some of these pillars in the way they think about things.
Yeah, so I live in Costa Mesa. I also, my day job, my night job, we started a venture fund and a venture studio in Costa Mesa, really for the purpose of when I raised capital for my company, Cloud Verga, right? So we raised quite a bit of money, and zero of it is from Orange County. And as a matter of fact, the private equity firms and the venture capital firms that invested in my company were like, well, why don't you move either a little more north, at least to LA? We don't expect you to go up to the Bay Area, but move to LA or something. And we had to put our foot down and say, no, we're going to stay here. But that's challenging, right? All that money is going to go back out, and it's not going to be innovating in here. One of the things that we've done in our studio that I've been doing is we've been hiring interns from UCI and some of these actually even high schools. And now they're actually going into the companies that we brought into the studio, these technology companies. And so we're trying to keep them here by saying, you graduate from UCI and you got a degree in whether it's engineering or business or marketing or design, come work with us. Let's teach you some of the fundamentals of startups, and then let's plug you into one of these startups, right? So that's a small piece, but those are just some of the ways that we're trying to say, keep the kids, keep the people here and the students, right? And give them opportunities to go into companies that are kind of, promising and also just innovative with what they're learning, without having them leave here, right? Because we are seeing an insurmountable amount of people leaving here, and I'm talking about the younger generation, and it's unfortunate. And so, what can we do about it? And that's kind of what we're going to evolve more and more of.
So some of the specifics on the how and the what here. As I think David mentioned, we want to be a catalyst. We want to be an incubator for this cultural thread and this new dimension for Orange County that we think is missing, that got us in a place where we wanted to leave Orange County at an earlier age. And with that, we want to activate community leaders, influencers in different verticals, different pockets, not just business people. And we want to start opening our eyes and ears to the different value system of the millennials and the Gen Zers. They think differently than even we do in terms of what they want for their community, where they want to socialize, build roots and friendships, where they want to start a business.
Wait, I think I'm a millennial, by the way, so I might be on that group.
And he doesn't have a car, so he's definitely the
I'm almost
exception.
on that. So just watch what you're saying.
And one of us has to give him a ride home, too, so we got to be nice to him.
That's a big, I thought we did the vetting process here. And so what we want to do is lean in to what they value. And we're talking about identifying a corridor within Orange County. I won't be specific right now, but there's a substantial corridor where there is a vibrant, younger generation that's starting to move in, more affordable housing. There's a bit of an art scene. We want to build into that. We want to have initiatives around the arts, around entertainment in that corridor, to have other influencers in the community help fund, help support, and make sure we start working as a catalyst to start bringing some of these things slowly into Orange County, and not just having it identified as an old economy or a retirement community or a very unaffordable place for people to start a family. I mean, we do not want Orange County 20, 30 years from now to be untouchable by people that are starting businesses. And it's starting to feel like that in certain pockets, and we have to reverse that trend.
You know, we talk so much about innovation too. And I mean, us as a group, we've talked about it. We are all innovators in our own respective companies and organizations. What I love about what we're doing here is we're talking about a different path to innovation. We're talking about a path to innovation through culture, through arts, through inclusion, through diversity, and all of those things. So one thing you're not going to hear from us is what we're doing directly to create innovation, because we believe that all of these things will lead to innovation.
That's absolutely
right. I mean,
we've toyed with the term social fabric incubator,
that's right.
you know, and really thinking of this as a thoughtful process behind building what's next for Orange County, combining multiple generations into the process because they all add value, and really thinking about how to make Orange County even more vibrant and attractive to young people, so that down the road, ultimately, that will create innovation, but it will also be a very exciting place to live.
Yeah, it's almost like, without being too negative, it's almost like we want to be somewhat of an anti to a regular way of kind of building a movement. I mean, like, again, that's why, you know, one of the conversations that we've had is let's not talk about the business side of what we're trying to do, right? About jobs and whatnot. That will be a result, as Bill was mentioning, by just being able to create the ecosystem, right? For example, we've talked to a lot of Gen Zers, and they're like, look, I don't want to drive. I'm going to go back to the driving thing for a moment, right? But I have to have a car here. Well, why? Let's figure that out, right? Let's see, what is it that makes that a reality for you? Can I bike? Can we leverage, you know, these other modes of transportation like Bird or Lime or these scooters or whatever it is? Like, what does that look like? Can we create more trails and bicycles? So there's an infrastructure thing as well to this, but it's like, why not bubble those questions up a little bit and not just accept the status quo of, well, you're in Orange County, you have to have a car. Well, why? Right? And I think that's what we want to do, is we kind of want to push the envelope a little bit across those different spectrums and give a voice to that next generation and create that ecosystem for them, so that the results would be the jobs and so forth. So.
And there's a lot of facets, like you just mentioned, in infrastructure. We're not going to solve all the problems. No. We're going to need partners, and that's part of our call to action. Is we want partners that are going to help us. You know, we have an affordable housing issue in the state. It's exacerbated at the county level. If you want to have college grads, staying here, you're going to have to, or building families here, you're going to have to eventually address that affordable housing issue. It's getting worse and worse. Right. So we're going to need partners on some of these different facets, but we do think that the time is right, and I think COVID will act as an accelerant from a behavioral standpoint, taking people out of hyper-urban areas into areas like Orange County, and we want to capitalize on some of this timing as well too. We think there'll be an influx and more attraction towards what Orange County brings.
Well, look what happened in New York. I mean,
it's almost a reverse migration.
Yeah.
And you know, I talk to so many different people in New York that are quintessential New Yorkers, and they're looking to leave.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, fine, they've been successful, they've got their second home somewhere, but you know, they just don't want to deal with that city anymore. And you hear that repeatedly, whether it's the Bay Area, Chicago. So, you know, I think it is an opportunity for us to really take that as an opportunistic view.
Yeah, and the other thing that's layered on top of this is that now it's such an interesting moment in time with COVID and with things that have been born out of it, where there's a lot of creative culture actually happening online. You're seeing people flock to platforms like TikTok and creating creative content. And so with those kind of platforms, we really see that being a core element, one core element of creating and enabling this movement. Yes, it will be in person. Yes, there will be a center of gravity, if you will, but there's also a lot of pull towards online platforms. And that's a real opportunity, especially given COVID now, that has created that.
So let me throw a question, actually, just totally off the cuff here. What about the people who say, I don't want to change. I like Orange County the way it is. I like the fact that, you know, it's beautiful, it's nice. I don't want to get too crowded. I love the status quo of what we're doing today. How do you answer that in your guys' minds? I mean,
well, I would say that Orange County has changed, and there is no status quo in any part of the country. It's a question of what do we want this to take, how do we want it to take shape over the next 20 years? Because in all fairness, I have a lot of respect for what's happened within Orange County in the last 20 years. Just, growing up in Orange County, when I would travel abroad, when you'd say, where are you from, people would know based on how close you are to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And now when you travel, you first of all, you align yourself with the state of California because California is so unique relative to anywhere else in the country. It's almost its own country. Yeah. And then within that, Orange County is something I take pride in, that I'm from Orange County because it has so much. And I think that's what's so fascinating about this particular area is it has all of the ingredients. They haven't been put together in a recipe in a way that's compelling to that younger generation. And that's ultimately how we see this conforming. It's not really making it different, so to speak. It's infusing a little bit more of a vibe in it. And who wouldn't want that? And that applies to all generations because we all know the youthful generation brings the energy to any community. And as I get older here, I want to feel the vibe from that younger generation influencing this culture. I think we could play a role in creating that movement to drive that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I want to be pushed by the younger generation. I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
At least from somebody my age.
We're in some ways at societal inflection point right now as well too.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very, very poignant question, Kyle, because I think anytime there's external change, you have to first go internal.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to really investigate, do I want to change? And I think we, as Orange County residents, really do need to look at the mirror and say, do we want change?
Right.
I'm of the view that to have more progress and have this a thriving community from an economic standpoint, from a quality of life standpoint, we have to listen to the younger generation right now. So for those of you at this conference that have kids, talk to your kids. You have younger employees, talk to your younger employees. Are they happy? What do they want? What else do they want out of the community they live in?
Yeah.
And then with it, there is risk. There's going to be discomfort in different thoughts and opinions, different political views. But I do think any successful economy and community has to be inclusive and open to different ideas and nurture some of that, or else we end up losing out on things like venture dollars being deployed here. We end up losing out on certain jobs and our STEM grads going to Austin, Boston, Silicon Valley. And I think we could do better than that.
Yep.
And it's not change for change's sake. I mean, we have this common thread of change, but it's really for the betterment of the entire community. And we've looked at other models, other cities that have done this really well. And we want to take out a page out of Austin's book and, Colorado and Denver, for example. And we know that when you can build that creative economy, everything else thrives with it. So it's more than just change.
So we're kind of winding down here. Let's maybe, we've kind of framed what it is that we're doing, what the impact can be on Orange County. But what do we want to tell everybody what we really need from them right now? What's the next steps and how could you get involved with what we're doing? And maybe what are our timelines for rolling this out?
I think the first thing is we're at the beginning of this, right? And we've spent a lot of time together thinking about how to approach this. We've talked through different phases, but I think the biggest message is stay tuned. There's a lot more to come, but we will need all sorts of folks, from people who are influencers in the community, people who can provide funding, partners, people who can engage the Gen Zers themselves. We envision having events, online platforms, a variety of things that you could really sink your teeth into and start to feel that vibe that we were talking about.
I think, as Bill, both you and Marinella said, this is introductory. Mm-hmm. We want to find other passionate members of the community that want to help, like Marinella said, finance, partner up, be infrastructure partners, be interested in some of the initiatives that we're putting together. We probably want to collect names of people that are interested through this process as well too, and get back to you within the next coming weeks, couple months, about our first tangible events. We're talking about a summit right now as well too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say ideas too. I mean, the one thing about this is we don't want this to be where it's just like, our show and we're going to be dictating. I mean, we want this to be a movement, right? We want this to be lock in arms, and we want passionate believers who want to join the movement. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think, we'll hear more about it, but, the more the merrier. I mean, this is for all of us here. We're not doing this as, we want to do this because we're passionate about it here. lifelong OCers. And so, we want cooperative participants, I would say, to join.
And champions of industry.
And champions of industry, that's right.
Of people in the arts and fashion and the restaurant world that we really want to support and have collaborate with us in terms of these initiatives.
Yep.
And I think that diversity of the backgrounds, it's not just the arts, it's not just the sciences, it's all the disciplines that we would be open to. It really comes down to your interest in getting involved in helping shape the future of Orange County. Your leadership, being willing to roll up your sleeves. We've all gotten into this and we're building it together, and we welcome fresh ideas. And the idea here is to introduce a dimension that Orange County hasn't seen. And so to the extent that you've got ideas on how to do that and this interests you, this is exactly the right group for you. And we look forward to really building this together. And I think you'll hear more from us here soon.
I mean, I would add one thing too. It doesn't have to be leaders, you don't have to be CEOs of companies or whatever. This can be anybody. I mean, literally anybody. From the barista working at Starbucks that's been a long time resident of Orange County wanting to see some change and be part of this. It's anybody and everybody, all are welcome.
Inclusion is the key
Inclusion
word,
is
right?
the key, absolutely.
And I think that's something we've aligned to right from the beginning. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to thank you for participating in Octane's conference. But more importantly, really, this group, what we put together here, represents a lot of diversity in terms of thought, in terms of experience, in terms of industry across Orange County. And you've all been so passionate on this. And I've never been part of a group that gelled so quickly. So thanks very much for everything that we're going to continue to do collectively as a group here for Orange County in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bill
guys.
and Octane, for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.